Alright, so I already recorded this video. Actually, last night I recorded this. And the reason I did not upload that was because I was I wanted to approach it in a different way. Because I made this video, and if you want to know what this video is about, I'll go over it with you. It's about the release of Final Hope, the good that came from it, the bad that came with it, and then the ugly that came with it. Um, and if you don't know what that means, then more simpler terms, I suppose, is what good happened, what bad happened, and everything else in between, like um people's other thoughts on it. And I'm gonna be sharing my own thoughts on everything, right? Um, so first, what happened was this is the timeline of events. First thing, um, starting about a month and 12 days ago, I first got access to Final Hope, and everybody and their mother was asking me for a release date. Everybody and their mother was asking Android for a release date, the owner of the game, and I was testing the game, and it was pretty good. And there were some bugs, right? But we fixed them, and I worked really hard. I um was set to level 500 while testing so that I could help test higher level PvP. I was always in the developers' DMs, helping them out with bugs, mechanics, stuff like that, right? Um, so I was there working on the game as well. You know, I might not have scripted anything, but I was there, right? I was involved. So, after that, you fast forward about a month and a half or so, or not a month and a half, but less than a month and a half, but like a month and a few days, right? Um, the game releases, and the game is completely different than what I tested. It is a lot better in a lot of ways, and it was worse in some ways. Um, there was no stamina when I had tested it. There was no raids. There was no time chamber. There were no game passes. None of it, right? There were no androids. The race androids didn't exist in testing. So, yeah, a lot of things were different. Those were the good changes. The bad change and the stamina, and there was other stats too. And by the way, my thoughts on the stamina bar is that it's awesome. It's great. I love it. Um, After that, um, the bad parts were that there was a lot of glitches. You couldn't transform. If you did, you would get frozen. You would get kicked randomly. That's the big one, is you would randomly get kicked a lot, very often, for just playing the game. And the reason why you got kicked is because the anti-cheat, anti-script, whatever, was like malfunctioning and kicking a lot of people. There were other glitches. There was just plain a lot of lag, server lag, right? Um, and everybody got mad. Well, a lot of people got mad. Not everybody was mad. I wasn't mad. I didn't really care. I dealt with it, right? I dealt with it. The kicking was annoying, yeah. But other than that, nothing too bad, right? Fight in base, not that big of a deal, right? Um, Fast forward about less than 2 hours. Let me adjust my mic. 2 hours after release. The team decided to make private servers free. And if you want to know what that did, it fixed everything, in fact. It fixed everything. Um, all the glitches were fixed. I didn't get kicked once. And I grinded for hours and hours and hours. I played with friends. Not one of us got kicked once. Not one of us got frozen while transforming. None of that bullshit happened, right? None of those, nothing. The lag, the game was fine. Perfectly fine, great. Working, everything. Um, People conveniently like to leave this out, and people conveniently like to only target all the glitches and server lag that had happened. With it, which was, obviously convenient for their argument. And I'm right here to tell you that if anybody is arguing against this game because of the lag or the glitches, No, it's invalid because private servers were made free an hour and a half, 2 hours, somewhere in between, right? After the game came out. Private servers were free, and that fixed everything. Um, so that's the lag argument out of the way. Let's move on next to the whole. There is one more thing that I would like to talk about, which it's sort of its own thing as well, but it also has to do with the lag and the glitches. I watched Seiji4's video, and of course, after the whole Sunny thing, I don't really have my opinion on him isn't too high. My expectations on him aren't too high, of course. I mean, I'm glad they made up and that raised it, of course. Um, but the I went in with little expectation watching his video, and I still walked out sort of expecting what I expected, or I got what I expected. I mean, sorry, that was dumb. I got what I expected. You know, all his points were, you know, with the lag and with the glitches and everything. Um, but what he did right that a lot of other people did wrong was he wasn't dogging on the game. He wasn't calling it trash. He wasn't calling it a shitty game at all. He said he liked the game. He said it was fun. And when he said he didn't like the game, guess what? He didn't tell anybody to kill themselves like everybody else did. Um, in fact, he helped. He said, "Yo, I pick up some things from my friends who script and do this, do that, right? Like check for like loops in the script or whatever he said. I don't know. I didn't, you know, he said something like that, right? He said don't lower the player count. You don't have to. Um, just like there's like certain things you could do to fix the lag, right? That's what he did, which is great, right? Fair play to him, right? That was good. I respect that, right? That's what other people should have done. And if you're not a scripter, then you should have just kept your mouth shut because you don't know what you're talking about anyway. Um, and then his other point was that he had a lot of people testing it, like 30 some people testing it, which is true, he did. Android did have people testing it. But the thing is that you can't um expect like a whole you can't release a game or test a game I mean with like 30 people and expect it to like be the same with like thousands of people playing it. Like the lag really caught up, right? The lag just really caught up to the game. And it was unforeseeable. You couldn't predict that. You just couldn't. Um it's impossible to predict. So, you know, that's sort of why I don't really like that argument of, oh, he tested it before, right? Doesn't make much sense to me. Alright, sorry, I had to make a little cut there. What was I talking about again? I think I covered glitches and everything, why that argument's invalid, and the testing, why that's invalid. Basically, we couldn't foresee the glitches that came because it was a server lag, and we couldn't test server lag with 30 people, right? That takes thousands of people. Hundreds or thousands of people, right? I don't really know the specific number, but you know, we couldn't test it, we couldn't foresee it, right? That's why. So, of course it happened, right? And then the final argument, which is, you know, it's kind of the most valid argument, but also I have my own counter argument to it, and it's that it's like a quote unquote remake of Final Stand. This is what people say to me, right? This is what people come to me and say. It's a Final Stand copy, why would I want to play it? And I'm assuming they say this for either two reasons. One is that they don't like Final Stand, so why would they like this game, Final Hope? And two, they've they're burnt out on Final Stand. They don't play it anymore. They already played it, or they still play it, or whatnot. So why would they just play it again? And my argument, I have a couple actually, is that one, um, and this is the dummy argument, right? This is the no bueno, right? This is the no bueno argument. Um, it started out as a remake for 80%, 70%, whatever of development before the game's release. They had a remake in mind, right? It was a Final Stand remake. Close to release, we decided, no, let's not make it a remake. Let's just take it into our own direction from here on out. Pay attention to that, here on out. From here, moving forward, it's our own game. Okay? So, keep that in mind. So everything before was a remake, but now everything in the future is Final Hope. Before Final Stand, after Final Hope, okay? Do we understand that? Because it's a very simple process. I learned number lines in kindergarten, so I'm sure you can understand a number line of, let's say 0 is right now, or actually 0 is going to be like release date, right? Or 0 is going to be wherever we decided to, we'll say 0 is the testing. That's the most accurate. 0 is the testing because that's sort of when we decided to take it into its own direction instead of Final Stand remake, right? It was a little before that, obviously, but you know, we'll just say, right? 0 is the testing date, the 1 month testing date I had. Before Final Stand, everything made before that testing, Final Stand. Everything after, Final Hope. Okay? So, release date, everything after, Final Hope. Namek is going to be more unique. I'm hoping at least, probably, right? And if it's not, then like more things down the line will be, right? Before, obviously, the GUI was created, the stats were made, the races were all in mind from Final Stand, the map was in mind from Final Stand, mechanics were in mind from Final Stand, right? People are acting like it's a one-to-one copy of Final Stand, which is not true. There are a lot of things that are similar, even from the remastered version, right? But if you look here, this Goku house right here, this is the new Goku house. And you look at what Kimo says, this is a developer, a lot better than just making the same as Final Stand. They know that they took a lot of inspiration from Final Stand. They know. You guys are pointing this out like it's some, oh, it's like a huge find. This is a W for our argument. Like, no. No, you bums. No, it's not a huge find. From the very beginning, we knew about this. Right? So, no. Invalid argument, right? That part of it, at least. So, like I said, the testing date is like around the 0. So moving to the right, which is to the future, is gonna be more Final Hope. And guess what? After testing, guess what came out? Stamina bar. Was that in Final Stand? No. No, it wasn't. Um, Lower level raids weren't in Final Stand. We always wanted them to be in Final Stand, but they just weren't. Right? More raids. The only raid is the Bio Broly raid, or not the the Broly raid, the full power Super Saiyan one, the DBS Broly, right? Now in Final Hope we have lower level raids, and in testing there's a dinosaur raid as well. So I'm assuming that's an even lower level raid than Broly, right? Bio Broly, I mean. Or maybe that was scrapped or whatnot. But there's gonna be more raids like everywhere, right? And then people, moving from there. Let's just. I don't want to keep talking about this because I could go on for a while. I could repeat myself, right? So let's just say conclude that part. The next argument is people saying like it's copying other games like even more than Final Stand. It's like, well, the argument that I see the most is like, or that I figure as well, is that people will look at the raids and be like, oh, that's from DBOG. And people look at the stamina bar, oh, that's from DBOG. Melee moves take stamina in DBOG. What the heck, you copy? It's like, well, DBOG did not invent um melee moves. I hate to break it to you. I really do. I hate to break it to you, but DBOG did not invent stamina bars, and they did not invent raids, right? They did not invent any of this. So those are concepts that are just video game RPG concepts. A stamina bar is a RPG game concept. Look at Genshin Impact, for example, has a stamina bar. Let's look at raids, RPG game concept. Again, Genshin Impact has raids. It's a video game concept, right? You know, you can't say, "Oh, they copied raids." It's like, no, don't. That's just makes you look dumb. That's like saying because Final Hope has a Super Saiyan transformation in it that they copied Final Stand because Final Stand also has a Super Saiyan transformation in it. When DBOR also had a Super Saiyan transformation in it, which Final Adventures also had Super Saiyan in it, which DBO also had Super Saiyan in it. Like, did they all just copy each other because they all have Super Saiyan in it? No! It's a Dragon Ball game! You bums. So, I don't know, right? I don't know. People are just silly. Um, what else do people like try to pull? Um, I guess my final point for this whole section of the video of um the whole copying thing is that yes, right now it resembles Final Stand because 70% of development, that's its job, is to resemble Final Stand, but be better, which it is doing great, by the way, because of like small changes such as more stats added. The Senzu Bean thing is one of my favorite additions in the whole game, right? Where you can switch from single bean to multiple bean. So it's just in the race stats, all the race stats are equal, which is great, right? I like that personally. So Saiyans aren't like super weak in their base, and androids aren't super OP in their base, right? Not like that. They all have forms, and they're going to be equal, but they just have buffed in their statistics based on your playstyle. What playstyle do you want to play, right? That's what race you play. Um, what do I want to talk about now? I think that mostly covers it. I did want to say one more point as well, was that yeah, the game resembles Final Stand because it's meant to, for 70% of development. But moving forward, keep your eyes on the game instead of calling it trash and dropping it and shit talking it and shit talking everybody who likes it and shit talking everybody who made it and tell them to kill themselves. Instead of doing all that bullshit, right? How about you shut up, you say your opinion nicely, and you be smart and you keep your eyes on the game, because now it's not trying to be a Final Stand 2. It's trying to be Final Hope 1. So now you wait until some cool shit gets added to the game that makes it really fun, and you can subscribe to my channel because I'll cover all the updates. You can wait when updates start getting added to the game again because the game is down, and you'll see that the game is going to be good because more updates are going to come. It's going to go farther from Final Stand and go closer to Final Hope, right? So yeah, that's about it for that section. And this final section I'm hoping isn't going to be too long, right? I just want to give my thoughts on the release, and this is my honest thoughts. I'm going to be unbiased. I don't have a reason to be biased because people can say all they want. Oh, you're biased because you talked to the owner. Well, I talked to the owner of DBOG too, right? So nothing new. And I clown on DBOG sort of things in DBOG when I want to. I clowned on Final Stand when I wanted to, and I'm going to clown on this game when I want to, right? And the only thing that I have to clown on this game is the combat right now needs to. It's not bad at all. The PvP is not bad. PvP is good, right? It's the opposite of DBOG, where I don't like the PvP in DBOG because of the ping and the mechanics and everything. Like, ping doesn't really help DBOG because it's almost like DBOG is too good to be a Roblox game, if that makes sense. Because the Roblox servers can't keep up. They can't keep up with DBOG. If you perfect block, and for all like forsaken purposes, you should have perfect blocked that hit, you don't because of lag. I should counter a lot of hits, but I don't because of lag, right? And I'm not just making excuses. I have hard proof. I have hard evidence that the DBOG servers or the Roblox servers aren't good enough for DBOG, right? Um, it's almost too good to be a Roblox game, right? In a couple of different ways. In a couple of different ways, both the lag and also just the game mechanics. It far exceeds what Roblox should have, right? Um, but that my point is that the PvP might be like that, but the PvE, where you're facing NPCs that sort of follow more of the game's structure, um, with deflecting and and combos and everything, follow the structure more, is more fun for me because you're following the game structure more, the game's mechanics, the built-in mechanics the game has. You're doing that, right? Whereas in Final Hope, you just sort of like spam a move against NPCs and win because they're dumb. But in Final Hope PvP, it's a lot different. And you're playing more and you're more active and you're more thinking, right? So it's sort of right. And I'm not saying you don't think in DBOG PvP, you think in a different way, right? But what I will say is that the combat in Final Hope could be better. It could be a little less repetitive, I suppose, and more mechanics will hopefully come. Hopefully beam reflection or like beam challenging would be sweet because I've been asking for a Dragon Ball game to have beam challenging for so long and it just never does. And I just want it to be in the game. And by that I mean like you instead of like shooting your own beam to challenge a blast that's coming to you, you like sort of can block it with your hands and like try to like deflect it away or deflect it back at the guy who shot it at you. That happens multiple times in the series, right? Think of Gohan and Frieza, right? Gohan shooting the Masenko at third form Frieza, and he's like trying to like stop it from like shoving him to the ground, but like he eventually throws it back at Gohan, right? That's that's like an ideal scene, right? That scene is so sick with the dragon theme playing and everything. Love that scene. Namek Saga was the best, man. But anyway, um, yeah, that's the my one complaint for Final Hope right now, and I hope more moves come out because with DBOG I like how many moves there are. It gives you a lot of freedom. In Final Stand there wasn't that many moves. There was a decent amount of moves, but there were also a lot of useless moves that nobody used because they sucked. Um, I don't want that to happen with Final Hope. I also think there could be more like unique ways of doing things. Like I just got a comment recently. Um, Shout out to you, you know who you are, who left the comment. It was like ways to unlock your level cap. That would be cool, right? So like you could surpass level 30 by going to Roshi, or you could surpass level 60 by talking to Kami, and you could surpass level 100, you know, by talking to like maybe King Kai or something, like, stuff like that, right? Stuff like that. Surpass level 200, 300, whatever, right? Just things like that by like talking to NPCs once you reach your level cap is cool, right? That'd be cool. Just more things like that, right? Like little random tidbits, right? That make the game different but still necessary, right? Um, I think would just be cool. And if you don't like that idea, then fair, right? You know, it's not necessary, but it just adds more to it, right? It adds more depth to the game, which is why I like the idea, right? Um, Ways to like go in and out of your form a little faster and more efficiently, because right now if you go in and out of your form, it drains your stamina to hell. Think of scenes like where Goku's going from God to Blue or Blue to Kaioken, right? Like scenes like that, like Blue to Blue Kaioken, I mean, or like base to Kaioken back to base, stuff like that, right? Like that's really cool to me. So if that could somehow get implemented, like so many like little things in Dragon Ball that you could slowly implement, right? Maybe like a Tau pillar where like a pillar just appears, you chunk it out of the ground and you throw it and you leap onto it. That'd be so sick. That'd be so cool. Just like little things that could be added, right? And my that is my criticism of the game is there's not enough real ways because you started it out as a Final Stand remake, and now the game is out and you've started to add things away from Final Stand, but there's not enough yet. It's not enough to claim that it's not a remake when it was for 70% of your development, right? There's not enough new things, right? A lot of stuff is still inspired from Final Stand with your own take on it, but I need new things, right? I need new stuff that I can't get from DBOG or Final Stand. So that is my criticism: is not enough new content, I suppose. Um, but I really do like how the game came out. That is what I'll say, because people will say, "Oh, it came out so glitchy, blah blah blah." But this is how I look at it, and then after this, I'll end the video. This is how I look at it. I look at it as the game came out, lots of glitches, lots of bugs, lots of dumb things came out, right? And 2 hours later, he fixed it all. He didn't really fix it all, but he fixed it all by making private servers free to everybody. So you can create a private server, and then you're good, right? All the glitches were fixed. All my friends playing, all the glitches were fixed, right? Everything. And the game worked great. Um, so that's sort of how I look at it, right? It was a very professional decision to do that while and you just play in a private server until everything gets fixed, right? And there's a lot of perks to playing in private servers. It's based on your own connection, so you're gonna lag less, right? You can't get random killed. You can't get abused, right? You can just sort of focus on your leveling. You can invite who you want to come in, right? So if you're having a trouble like getting in the same server, you could just send them to your private server. Oh, come on in. There's only me in it, right? Not a filled server. So yeah. That's how I look at the release of Final Hope is how professional it was and how quickly things were getting fixed, right? And there were OP moves on release, and those were nerfed because they were OP. And if you complain about that, then you're a loser. That's all that is if you complain about your one-shot move getting nerfed because it was too overpowered for the game, and you relied on that to kill everything, you are a loser. Right? If you did use, I'm not saying you're a loser if you used it, because you're just using what's in the game, right? I used it, right? I'm not calling myself a loser. I'm saying if you're complaining that it got nerfed when it rightfully should have gotten nerfed, then that's when you're a little silly, right? That's when you're a little silly. That's when you're being a little bum, right? Um, so yeah, that's it for this video. I really want to end it there. I don't want to rant for another 30 minutes. 'Cause God knows I could, right? You guys know I could too after all these videos, man. You know, I got a big motor mouth on me, so I'm gonna end the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think of the game and what you think of the release of the game, right? And what you would want to see from the game to help take it away from Final Stand. Because that's like the biggest thing I see is people will clown on the game, complain, blah, 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 but they won't offer what they should do instead, right? It's really easy to point out a flaw, but it's not as easy to point out a flaw and how to fix it, right? So, let me know what you guys would want, right? And that's about it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. You know, again, let me know what you guys thought. And yeah, see you guys later.